everybody, and welcome to a brand new detailed diatribe. It's a new year, we're all very tired. It was this or I do another myth video. So I hope you're all prepared to hear me talk about Dragon Ball for the next 40-ish minutes.
I am.
Yay! Yeah, so, as you've probably gleaned from the title and or thumbnail, depending on how descriptive I manage to make it, today I'm going to be presenting a thesis on why I think the prophecy of the Super Saiyan in the early arcs of Dragon Ball Z is actually really well done and, like, surprisingly well planted and paid off, considering how much of a cultural staple it became and how much of a foregone conclusion spoiler it is these days. It's like, you know, it's easy to lose track of the fact that if you look back, wow, that's actually surprisingly well handled. For something as overall silly and kind of dumb as Dragon Ball is. I have, in keeping with the paradigm we established in the Christmas movie showdown, prepared a slideshow to present my points. It's rather longer than my slideshow in the Christmas video. I'm gonna try and keep this concise. I promise. It's just, this is one of those things where part of what makes this work so well is the context, and there's so much context I could go into, so I'm gonna try and keep the brakes on this one, so it doesn't get completely over the top.
I believe in you, Red. The most I remember from my youth spent watching Dragon Ball Z was mostly the Boo arc, which is very much not what we're talking about, so I have just enough context to know who most of these people are, but nothing to put it together meaningfully, so we'll get into this and we'll have some fun.
Yes, to begin with, I, as mentioned, must present context, because there's a funny little thing about Dragon Ball Z. It's like chapter 140 onward of the manga, something like that. In fact, we need context, so let's talk about Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was a manga written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama, and it was published between 1984 and 1996. It was adapted into an anime covering the first 194 chapters called Dragon Ball. Most people in the US did not see Dragon Ball before they saw Dragon Ball Z, because while attempts were made to dub it, there wasn't as much of an audience for it, so they kind of fell flat in the mid-90s. It wasn't properly dubbed until 2001. Dragon Ball Z had a workable dub by 1996. So, most people who tuned in to watch Dragon Ball Z had literally no way of knowing who any of these people were and what was happening. So, Dragon Ball started off as a very, very basic and goofy Journey to the West parody done by Akira Toriyama, who was at the time a comedic manga creator. He'd done another manga called Dr. Slump about this little robot girl who had a similar bit to Goku in that she was very cute and kind of dumb and extremely strong, and this confused people a lot. He loved writing those characters. So, the main character of Dragon Ball is this little kid, Son Goku. He has a monkey tail, he has a big stick, and it flies around on a cloud. Son Goku is the Japanese pronunciation of the characters of Sun Wukong's name. It's real overt. They're not trying to hide it. It's very purposeful. And Goku's whole bit is that he was weird and strong and tough, and it wasn't really clear where he came from. He was just this, you know, cute little weird kid. And the other thing is that if he looked at the full moon, he would turn into a giant monkey. Something he was unaware of, because it was like kind of like a Hulk situation. Like he didn't know that was a thing he could do. And his various co-stars kept this information from him because they had figured out that the first time he turned into a giant monkey, he had accidentally killed his grandfather. And Goku didn't know that. And they were like, we're just gonna keep that information from him because otherwise he might get very sad.
I'm curious as to where this fits into the werewolf canon, but I'm gonna holster that question and let's move on.
Yeah, so basically the first arc was a very simple Journey to the West homage. Instead of getting scriptures, they were collecting Dragon Balls, which were these 7 mystical orbs, and if you got all of them, you'd put them together, and a big dragon called Shenron, or Shenlong, would come out and grant you one wish and then go away, and then the balls would be inert for a year and then they'd recharge. There are very many easy puns. Everyone's already made all those jokes. We won't touch on them here. And then there's a bunch of arcs. He meets a whole bunch of other people. Most of them show up in Dragon Ball Z, so anyone who's watched Dragon Ball Z will be passingly familiar with them, but like, he trains under Master Roshi. That's when he meets Krillin. Everybody knows Krillin. Everybody likes Krillin. He's great. Various other characters, usually introduced as antagonists. Goku beats them and then makes friends with them. This happens every time. So that's the general gist of Dragon Ball. The important details going into Dragon Ball Z are enumerated on this slide here. We have Goku, we have the Dragon Balls, we have the guy who made the Dragon Balls, and his evil twin. Most people forget about that because Piccolo's really the only part of that functionally matters in Dragon Ball Z after a while. He's got a bunch of friends, don't get attached. He's got Bulma, you can get attached to her, and it's dumb as hell and fully a comedy. Something that kind of got lost sight of in the middle several years of Dragon Ball Z, I'd say. So, Any questions thus far?
No, I mean, I'm pretty much on board with how everything works. I remember most of the characters. I'm just looking at Goku's silly face. It's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toriyama's art style changed a lot.
It is important to remember that this was a comedy at first, because the part of the show that I'm familiar with, it's super not. But
no, yeah, the Boo arc is...
of the original is pretty solidly in line with the tone of the original Journey to the West.
Yeah, it's silly, and like the original Journey to the West, it would get serious when villains were introduced. Like, Goku and friends were very silly, but like, serious stuff would happen. I think one of the first times that the story got really serious is what's known as the King Piccolo arc, where, so you see that green guy, Kami, and you see the other green guy, the one with the cape?
Yeah.
I mentioned it on the previous slide, but I didn't go into detail. Basically, Kami is, he's a good guy, but he's good because he balled up all of his evil, and he sort of split it off into a separate being, which is usually a bad decision. And in this case, that separate being was King Piccolo, and Kami sealed him away for a while, but at the beginning of the King Piccolo arc, he gets unsealed, and he causes a huge amount of trouble, including killing Krillin and Master Roshi, which makes Goku extremely upset. So those two have already been wished back to life by the Dragon Balls, because they had to do that after that arc. At the end of that arc, Goku kills King Piccolo, but King Piccolo spits out an egg, and then the egg hatches into an adorable baby copy of himself, and then that baby copy grows up to be Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z, which is quite a lot of backstory that Dragon Ball Z never ever brings up as far as I'm aware.
That is a lot. I remember Piccolo used to be evil, but I didn't realize it was a different guy who was different from the other different guy.
Yeah. Little Piccolo also used to be evil, but he got reformed. They were clearly setting him up to be like sort of a recurring Vegeta-type villain, and then they just introduced Vegeta instead. So Piccolo just became a good guy almost immediately. So, after Dragon Ball ran its course, with the various arcs, you know, getting the Dragon Balls, World Martial Arts Tournament, etc., King Piccolo, Piccolo Jr., they went into the shiny grown-up sequel. In the manga, there is no distinction between these. It's just one chapter, they're wrapping up the Piccolo Jr. arc, and then the next chapter, the Saiyan Saga begins. It's extremely jarring if you're just reading it linearly. But, of course, during the anime release, Dragon Ball Z was a completely new show. It basically drops in episode 1, and nobody watching has any context for who any of these people are if they're in the States. There was a bit of a time skip. They did this fairly regularly. Like, after an arc would wrap up, they'd time skip some months or years, and just, you know, between one time skip, Goku went from being a chibi monkey to a large man, and that was about as extreme as it ever got. In the pre-Dragon Ball Z time skip, Goku has had a kid, Gohan. Other than that, not much has happened, and it kicks off with the Saiyan Saga, where an alien crash lands on Earth, and suddenly we know a lot more about Goku. So the gist is that all of Goku's weird shit, you know, the tail, the being really strong, the turning into a giant monkey, turns out that's because he's actually an alien from an alien planet where everyone can do that. But also the planet was exploded and there's only 4 of them left, which is a Journey to the West reference. I didn't realize, but there's a bit in Journey to the West where it's brought up that there's actually like 4 sort of weird divine monkeys that don't really fit into any of the categories of heaven and earth, and they all have different powers, and Monkey's like just one of them, and he kills one of the others, which is great and super on brand. We'll get there, I promise. Yeah, so that was cool, and they kind of established like, oh yeah, so you know, Goku, oh, why did you end up in the woods? Why are you adopted by that guy? Well, you know, you fell to Earth in a space pod, and then you bonked your head and became a certified good boy and a protector of the Earth, and the Saiyans are actually bad. They're all jerks. Well, at least all 3 of them.
So basically, in the span of one episode, the world expands from like, oh, it's Earth but weird, to like, now there's space and everything's crazy and different.
Yeah. It
just happens all at once?
Yeah, all at once. It is important to note that the world of Dragon Ball, while it is Earth, is like a very goofy Toriyama Earth, you know? There's like...
Well, yeah.
There's dinosaurs, there's animal people, one of the characters has 3 eyes. This is never discussed as weird or even noteworthy. It's just, you know, it's a very big, colorful world full of interesting people, and now it turns out there are also aliens. And while they're discussing this, it is also revealed that Kami and Piccolo are a different kind of alien, which is cool. And it is established that while Goku may be very, very strong by Earth standards, by Saiyan standards, he is a weak little baby scrub lord. Oh no. So, some stuff happens. I mean, you know, we're kind of breezing through this. This is not where the Super Saiyan becomes relevant. This is just relevant context. So, the Saiyan who came to Earth, I forgot to mention this, his name is Raditz, and he's Goku's brother. You'd think this would be more important. It's not. Raditz is fought and killed by Goku and Piccolo working together, which is very funny because if you've never watched Dragon Ball, you've got these two characters who you don't know, and they're like, huh, I never thought I'd be fighting alongside you, my old enemy. Yeah, well, I'm not a big fan of this either. You're like, who are you people? What's happening? And then, of course, immediately they're like on the same page. So they kill Raditz, but Goku sacrifices himself in the process, and for the first time in Dragon Ball canon, Goku dies. Oh no, but that's okay. It's in the title, baby. They can just wish him back with Dragon Balls, which Piccolo thinks is a good idea to brag about to Raditz, and Raditz's two buds hear about it over his communicator thingy and are like, sweet, let's go to Earth and destroy the place. So Goku, while he's dead, spends some time training with this goofy little man who, you gotta understand, Toriyama always puts silly shit in his stories. No matter how serious it's getting, there's always something dumb. And in this case, the guy he's training with, King Kai, will not train him until he tells him a joke that makes him laugh. Later, when other characters show up, it includes two incredibly serious and stoic characters, and if you read the manga, the narrator is like, and now Tien and Piccolo face their greatest challenge yet. And it's extremely funny, because Toriyama's a funny guy.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, I swear, man, Dragon Ball loses a lot when it gets overly serious. But yeah, so basically, Goku's training in heaven with this cool guy, and Piccolo takes Goku's son, Gohan, to train him because Gohan is only like 3, but he's got this weirdly powerful reserve of strength, and Piccolo's like, well, he's 3 and has no idea what he's doing, but I bet if I train him for a year, I might be able to turn him into a great weapon that I can use to conquer the world and definitely won't get very emotionally attached to, so that's going well. Goku's other friends also train. I'm sure they stand a chance. Part 2, the other two Saiyans arrive. It's been a year, and they are Nappa and Vegeta, and everybody knows about Vegeta. Most people don't remember Nappa. He's not that important. So basically they show up, and everyone assembles to fight them, and everybody dies. Except for Krillin and Gohan.
Krillin doesn't die, that's a shock.
Yeah, Krillin doesn't die yet.
Oh.
But yeah, so the gist is that Nappa's real strong, and Vegeta's not even doing anything, he's just standing around. And Nappa, just by himself, kills the friends, you know, Goku's friends from Dragon Ball. And Piccolo heroically sacrifices himself to protect Gohan from being exploded, and then he dies. Now, unfortunately, while this is very heroic of him, this does mean that the Dragon Balls no longer work. I had this on an earlier slide, but neglected to mention it, because Piccolo and Kami are sort of the same being. If one of them dies, they both die, and because Kami made the Dragon Balls, if he dies, they stop working. So what this means is that everyone's dead and they no longer have their get out of death free card. So that's bad. But fortunately then Goku shows up and he immediately defeats Nappa. This will become a trend. Goku will immediately defeat the person who's been wiping the floor with everybody and then have trouble with that person's boss. It's a very standard rhythm. He defeats Nappa by like breaking his spine, which is pretty brutal. And then Vegeta kills Nappa, which is more brutal. And then he and Goku go to fight and they fight for a while. And I don't have any footage of that because it's really not important for our purposes here. I'm just contextualizing lest we forget. But it is pretty cool because it establishes an important theme in the show overall, which is the concept of natural talent versus hard work and training. In all of Dragon Ball, Goku is constantly training and learning and improving and growing and getting stronger. And of course, at the beginning of the Saiyan Saga, it is revealed that that got him up to a level where he can almost stand up to the weakest other person of his race of naturally talented warrior badasses. So Goku started from the bottom, and now he's here.
Now he's at the slightly different bottom.
Yeah, now he's found the new bottom that he's starting from. But that's the thing, Goku is constantly working to improve himself. So, you know, he fights and he dies and he's like, wow, what a great opportunity for more training. So, you know, he's very delightful, very sunny personality. Vegeta, meanwhile, is the prince of all, at this point, 2 Saiyans. 2.5. And he's pretty big on the whole divine right of kings thing. He's a naturally talented warrior prince and he's a total badass and there's no way this will be even any sort of competition. So even though this fight doesn't really end well for either of them, Vegeta comes away feeling much worse about it because even though they both got their asses kicked, Vegeta's the one who felt like that shouldn't have happened at all. He develops a bit of a complex about this of like, oh, I thought I was the hottest shit in the galaxy, but this low-class Saiyan trash managed to work his way up to being almost on my level. That's ridiculous. I don't like this. We gotta get stronger. And suddenly Vegeta's caught the bug that Goku's had since day one of must get stronger. So that's cool. And it's an interesting theme that they sort of keep bringing up. That's sort of a subtle underpinning of the next saga, the Namek Saga. The inciting incident of which is that, well, hey, all our friends are dead and the Dragon Balls don't work. And so what are we supposed to do? And they remember, oh, hey, didn't one of those weird space monkey guys say that Piccolo and Kami were like aliens from this planet Namek? Well, if they could make Dragon Balls, maybe there are people on that planet who can make make Dragon Balls? We should go and find out. Improbably, they are right about all of this, but that's not the problem anymore. The problem is actually that because word has got around that there are these things called Dragon Balls that can grant incredible wishes, some really bad people are after them now, and planet Namek is currently being attacked by some real bad dudes.
Because they used to be entirely localized to Earth?
Yeah, well, I guess it's that Earth was like this little backwater dirt ball that nobody ever visited, so they had no idea that they had these incredibly powerful magical artifacts.
Right.
So that's cool. And Namek was kind of in the same boat, you know, it was just these two little backwater places. But now it turns out, oh, they've got these incredibly powerful things that can, like, make you immortal. That's the thing everybody always says they're gonna wish, but it never actually happens because it would be completely game-breaking. So it turns out Namek is being attacked by evil Space Emperor Frieza, who is Vegeta's boss. It is also being attacked by Vegeta, independently of Frieza. Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma.
So does Goku fly off into space by himself, or does he have, like...
Okay.
He hitched... Okay.
So, basically...
Can I ask if he hitched a ride with Vegeta?
That would be the funniest thing. But no, Vegeta's already off in space. He like, gets into his space pod and leaves. Krillin was going to straight up stab him, but Goku asks him very nicely not to. So Vegeta flies away instead.
Right.
And Goku's recovering in a nice, comfy hospital bed. They established in Dragon Ball that there are these things called sensu beans that can heal you up instantly and replenish your energy, but they take a while to grow, and there's usually only plot-specific small number of them around at any given time so that they can be used up and people can be out of commission for a while. And that's what happened after this. They don't have any beans, so Goku goes to a regular hospital while they grow more beans. So he's out of commission, and Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma fly off to planet Namek, not expecting any trouble. They are immediately attacked by bad guys and their ship is blown up, so Goku has to go and rescue them, and his ship will take 6 days to get there. So he's got 6 days to train, which we know he loves doing more than anything else, while everyone else has to try not to die. So that's fun. It's a pretty fun setup for a sort of a desperate cat and mouse situation. And now, on to the actual point, baby! So, throughout the course of the beginning of the Namek Saga, this term starts popping up, and that term is Super Saiyan. If you squint, we've actually heard this term once before, but not in this specific context. Nappa actually says it at one point when he and Vegeta are flying to Earth because they noticed Gohan's powers spike on their like little power level reader things, their scouters, and they're like, huh, looks like hybridizing Saiyans with humans produces a powerful hybrid thing. And Nappa says, oh, a Super Saiyan, huh? Do you think we should go and spawn off a Passel ourselves? And Vegeta's like, no way, broski. I hate the idea of spawning off a kid that's stronger than me, which becomes hilarious later. But, so that's the first time we hear the term Super Saiyan, but it's clearly not referring to what it's referring to in this arc. So the first bit of information that is relevant to this is that we are informed that the Saiyan homeworld was not actually just exploded by chance, it was in fact purposefully blown up by Frieza, because Frieza kind of noticed that Saiyans keep getting stronger, and he wasn't the hugest fan of that. Frieza is kind of evil space emperor of the universe, but it's almost entirely a might-based meritocracy, and he doesn't like the idea that somebody might get stronger than him someday and cause actual trouble. So he blew up the whole planet, you know, for funsies, which is, you know, the kind of thing that might motivate a hero for revenge in any other story but this. It does motivate Vegeta, though. Vegeta's pretty pissed about that. Not because he particularly liked the other Saiyans. It's more a matter of the principle of the thing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. And the term is brought up directly, I believe, for the first time by the Grand Elder Namekian who created the Dragon Balls on Namek. When he learns that there was a Namekian who made it to Earth but was killed by a Saiyan, he's a little confused by this and he says, oh, was it possible that that monster was a Super Saiyan? And Krillin says, what's that? And instead of explaining, the Grand Elder Namekian just uses his psychic powers to, like, glean the information. He's like, oh, I see. He split himself in half. Bad move, bro. And then the next time we hear the term Super Saiyan, Frieza's having this little inner monologue about how he's had this, like, sort of bad feeling, this, like, premonition that somewhere in the universe, maybe there's a Saiyan who's become an issue for him. And then it just, like, smash cuts to Goku because, you know, we're not being subtle. What show do you think this is? Now, the term has been planted, but nobody's explained what it means yet. This is important because it's part of the prophecy planting. Now, we do eventually get more details about what the hell a Super Saiyan is, but they're all coming from Vegeta, who is an unreliable narrator under the best of circumstances. For the purposes of this thought experiment, we're gonna pretend like pop culture osmosis has not taught every single one of us what a Super Saiyan is from the moment of birth, okay? We're just gonna close our eyes and make believe that it's 1996 and we're seeing this for the first time, okay? So part of what makes this work is that it is vague. The term gets thrown around, but nobody says exactly what it is. With a lot of fictional prophecies, they don't really leave that much to the imagination. It's like, oh, a great warrior will arise and draw the sword from the stone and slay the dragon and defeat the blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, all of those things are literally going to happen. Cool.
Yeah, super is a very vague adjective because it could mean anything.
Exactly. From Vegeta and occasional other context clues, we glean a few details about the fabled Super Saiyan, which is that it is a Saiyan who's transcended their normal limitations, which is a difficult measuring stick because that applies to Goku and also Vegeta at this point, so that's cool. The mightiest warrior in the cosmos, which is subjective. The only thing Frieza ever feared, which is unclear. And Vegeta insists that the Super Saiyan is merciless, loving bloodshed and battle above all else. And there's this little bit where he envisions what a Super Saiyan would look like, and he envisions it as like the Saiyan Ozaru giant monkey form, but like gold and shiny. It's clearly not meant to be like a literal representation of what it is, but that's how he's thinking of it. So that sort of primes the audience to think of it the same way. Like, we already know Saiyans can transform, so presumably this would be like that, but shinier or something. And that ties into the second trait about it, which is the uncertainty. We have a lot of descriptors, but we don't know how it works, what it looks like, what it does, if it's real, if it would actually be strong enough to defeat Frieza, who is pretty unflappable at this point. He's kind of a frustrating bad guy for this specific reason, in that he really doesn't have any weaknesses. It's just a matter of like, maybe if we hit him with something really, really hard, it'll work.
Maybe if we kick him in the nuts, that'll make him flinch.
Further confusing matters, Vegeta will not shut up about the Super Saiyan once he gets it into his head that it might be a thing. So basically, that happens after Goku finally arrives on Namek. He's been training for 6 days, using the artificial gravity generator thingy in the ship to train at 100 times Earth gravity. And when he shows up, he's really, really strong, and he immediately beats these 3 bad guys that were absolutely wiping the floor with Krillin, Gohan, and Vegeta, who's reluctantly teamed up with them at this point because of how scary those bad guys were. This is going to become a trend. So Vegeta sees Goku and how strong he is and how effortlessly he took down these guys that were mopping the floor with him, and Vegeta begins an existential crisis about it. He just spends this, like, the next 10 minutes inner monologuing with at increasingly high volumes about how Goku could possibly have gotten this strong, and whether or not this means he's the fabled Super Saiyan, which Vegeta thought was just a myth, and also something only he would ever have the potential to do. So this is just bad in a lot of ways. Vegeta's just not having a good day, and it won't get better from here.
Yeah, thus begins the single bad day that will dominate the rest of his life.
Yeah, the Namek Saga, or Vegeta and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. But then Vegeta sees Goku show mercy to the bad guys. Now, this is actually a very common thing for Goku. Like, he really does not like killing bad guys. He really only does it if he absolutely has to, and even then, I think he's only done it like twice. And even with Piccolo Jr., young Piccolo, when he showed up, Goku beat him and then gave him a sensu bean and was like, heal up and come back and fight me later when you're feeling better. And Piccolo's like, hey, you'll regret this. And then he didn't. It's just that happens a lot. So Goku is a very sweet, merciful guy who always believes in second and third chances for people. And Vegeta thinks, oh, thank God, he can't possibly be a Super Saiyan. He's much too much of a bleeding heart. I still have a chance at first place. So then Vegeta goes back to being smug. Vegeta has 2 modes, and they are smug and panicking, and he will switch between them on a dime in this arc.
He's a metronome, yeah. So I guess the fact that Vegeta knows what's up with this, at least vaguely, even if it's implied to be a myth, means that there is some aspect of this Super Saiyan thing that is ingrained in Saiyan culture for the 5 of them that are left, I guess.
2.5, but yes. Yeah, so basically this is indicated to have been like a legend or some kind of like historical event lost to the sands of time that was passed down through the Saiyans that Vegeta learned as a kid, and then his planet blew up, and he's just sort of kept it in the back of his mind as like a thing, like the ultimate potential of the Saiyan race. And of course, since he thinks of himself the same way, he probably hadn't really considered it until now, when suddenly he sees this person who, again, training versus talent, by all rights shouldn't be anywhere near as strong as he is, completely outpace him. And he thinks, well, this is ridiculous. Something's wrong. What's going on? But seeing that Goku is a big ol' softy bleeding heart, Vegeta's like, thank goodness. Okay, we're good. Things are back on track. So from this point forward, every single time Vegeta gets a power-up, he's like, that's right, Frieza! Now I've finally realized the legend and become the ultimate Saiyan warrior, the Super Saiyan, and nobody else knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because nobody has explained this to any of the other characters. So, basically...
oh my god, that face. That dumbass smirk.
That's the thing, man. Like a metronome. So, basically, through the rest of the little arc, for various reasons, Goku gets put out of commission, and he'll be fine. They stick him in a pod for 40 minutes. He'll be okay. Everybody else is like, okay, we've got the balls. We've got a person who can help us summon the dragon. We've got Vegeta, but we're gonna leave him over there while he naps so he doesn't interfere with our plans to bring our friends back. They get the balls together, and the dragon pops out, and they wish for, well, they're gonna wish for their friends to come back, and then it turns out the Namekian Dragon Balls don't let you bring back multiple people with one wish. And Piccolo's like, hey, if you bring me back, that brings back Kami, and that means our Dragon Balls work. And everyone's like, wow, what a great decision. And then he's like, now I also want you to transport me to Namek with the second wish so that I can fight Frieza hand to hand. And it's like, that seems like a really good way to make this whole trip completely pointless if you get killed again. But, whatever, you know, I'm sure it'll be fine. But of course, this leads to Frieza showing up, and Frieza's extremely displeased that they've swiped 2 out of 3 wishes, and then that the Elder Namekian just kind of casually dies in the background, so the balls stop working, and Frieza's extremely pissed. But that's okay. Vegeta's gotten all stronger and stuff, and he's confident that he has become the legendary Super Saiyan, and he clashes with Frieza, and they're actually evenly matched. And Frieza's like, nifty, time to switch into my second form. And Vegeta says, second what? And Frieza transforms and completely outclasses Vegeta, starting his second existential crisis of the day. So, Piccolo shows up, and he fights second form Frieza, and he's actually doing a pretty good job while Vegeta's having a crisis in the background. And then Vegeta remembers a fun little fact that every time a Saiyan nearly dies and comes back, they're stronger. They get like a power-up from nearly dying, which is incredibly busted.
That's why Vegeta gets his ass kicked all the time. See, it's tactical.
Yeah.
It's tactical.
Yeah, it's an RNG manipulation strat. Yeah, so
this is... reset Frieza's run cycle and then get him clipped through the floor.
Yeah, you see, Vegeta's actually getting skew by getting kicked into this rock. Yeah, so this is used to retroactively explain why in Dragon Ball, Goku would always get his ass kicked by the bad guy, train a little bit, come back, and then immediately wipe the floor with the bad guy. It's like, yeah, part of it's training, but part of it is that he's like precision designed to be really good at never losing the same fight twice. So Vegeta and Goku figured this out at this point, or at least Vegeta's figured out and hasn't shared with the class. So while Goku's off in the healing pod getting healed up, this is also priming him for yet another near-death power-up, which is cool. But in the meantime, Vegeta's like, wait a minute, we've got a guy here who can heal us, by the way. One of their... you know what? None of this really matters. They've got a guy there who can heal them, at least for now. And Vegeta's like, I know, I can totally speedrun this. If I get the small one to blast a hole in my chest and then the other small one to heal me, I'll get the power-up, and that'll definitely push me over the edge into finally being the Super Saiyan. Which, again, reminder, nobody else knows what he's talking about because he hasn't shared this information with the class yet. This has just all been inner monologue. So he gets Krillin to blow a hole in his chest, and then they reluctantly...
It's like when 12-year-olds figure out that you can tense their abs, and then it's like, punch me in the stomach, bro, I can take it.
That's really it. That's so much of Vegeta's energy in this arc. So he gets a big hole blown in his chest, and then he gets healed up by Dende, and he comes back and he's like, that's right, Frieza, I've finally, this time for sure, become the legendary Super Saiyan. And Frieza's like, all right, bro, let's see if you can back it up. And Vegeta powers up, and it's all dramatic and lightning, and everyone's like, wow, unbelievable, I can't believe how strong Vegeta's gotten. So this time, I'm pretty sure he's done it, guys. I think he's maybe become the legendary Super Saiyan. We still don't know. Maybe. He's the only one who seems to know. Frieza doesn't seem to think the Super Saiyan exists at all, or if he does, he's not sharing. But what does happen is that even if Vegeta has become the legendary Super Saiyan, either that's not a thing, or it's not strong enough to really phase Frieza in his final, ultimate, pinnacle form, etc., etc. So that's disappointing. And Vegeta unleashes a truly impressive, powerful set of attacks, and they don't do anything, and he gets very discouraged and starts actually crying. And in the manga, the narrator is kind of like, for the first time in his life, the Prince of all Saiyans sheds tears. Whereas in the anime, they have King Kai narrating in the world's most obnoxious voice. And I like to believe that he's like, he left the psychic phone off the hook and Vegeta's hearing him be like, those eyes don't lie, the tears are real. Vegeta's really emotionally broken by this one. So that's what I like to imagine is happening. But anyway, fortunately, after Vegeta gets kicked around like a football for a while and what's totally an RNG manipulation strat, Goku shows up, yay, and he's all powerful and stuff because of his latest near-death experience. And Vegeta's like, that's right, Frieza! That guy's finally realized the legend! And Frieza gets sick of him and kills him. Oh no, what a shame. And because nobody else knows what the hell a Super Saiyan is, and Frieza's not about to say, you finally become my hated enemy destined to destroy me, nobody else knows what's going on, and for the next, 6 episodes, nobody brings it up. So, yeah.
So as far as the audience is concerned, it's just Vegeta being weird about it.
Yeah.
And then dying.
Well, as far as the audience is concerned, there might be some truth to it because Frieza and the Elder Namekian both were like, huh, Super Saiyan, interesting. So there's something there, but Vegeta's the only person who's been consistently talking about it, and every single time he brings it up, someone from Earth will say, huh? What's a Super Saiyan? And he never tells them. So the Earthlings have no clue what he's talking about. Goku has no idea there's an alien prophecy that Vegeta thinks he's fulfilled, which is funny because, like, so Vegeta's like, haha, he's finally here, he's really strong, and, you know, he's like, gotten his ass kicked, so he's not in great shape, and he's like, yeah, Frieza, you better watch out, the Super Saiyans come to kick your ass. And then Goku's like, Frieza, I'm gonna give you one chance to reform and get out of here before I have to fight you. And Vegeta's like, no! What's wrong with you? You'll never be a Super Saiyan. And Goku's like, a super what? And then Vegeta dies. So, like, shame. So yeah, Goku has no fucking clue what's going on. Par for the course. But the audience is starting to get an inkling that this Super Saiyan thing is probably important, or it's a total red herring. Because, like, Vegeta's been talking it up so much that it's like, you'd think he'd have gotten it at least once this time. So, you know, if it's real, maybe Vegeta didn't and it just wasn't strong enough and they're gonna need to do something clever to beat Frieza.
Yeah, it's the perfect blend of Chekhov's gun and red herring.
Yes, it's perfect. It's like, it's planted so much and so
Chekhov's
regularly.
seafood dinner.
That's a good one.
Hold on, let me write that down.
Yeah, so it's planted so much and so regularly that it sort of makes the audience think, is this even a thing? Like, they're saying it so much, it's gotta be a thing, right? But Vegeta keeps not getting it, so what could it be? And then there's a really long fight. It used to be way longer before they cut it down for Kai. It is still 16 episodes total. That's too many episodes.
That's the whole, like, this planet's only got, like, 5 minutes left thing.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get there. That happens about 2/3 of the way through the fight.
Okay, cool. Great. Love it.
Yeah, so basically, the fight has already taken 6 episodes up to this point. Everyone else has been fighting Frieza for a long-ass time while Goku's been healing up. It's been 2 real-world hours. It's been a while. So, Goku's shown up, everyone else is basically on the bench for this one. Goku and Frieza fight for a while. The details don't matter, because this fight follows a very specific rhythm, and that rhythm is Goku will be very impressed by how strong Frieza is. Goku will come up with a clever tactic of some kind, using a technique or a strategy or something he's never tried before that will manage to sort of get the drop on Frieza and scuff him a little bit, and Frieza will be increasingly annoyed that this is even possible. You know, similar to Vegeta, he doesn't think it should be at all possible for a low-class Saiyan trash warrior like Goku to be able to actually hurt him at all, but it doesn't do any appreciable damage. Frieza still gets pissed about it though. And then Goku will be like, oh man, that last one really wiped me out. I gotta finish this quick. And then he won't. And then meanwhile on the sidelines, Piccolo and Gohan and Krillin will be like, wow, unbelievable. Frieza's so strong. This is ridiculous and kind of annoying writing wise. It's like, yep, you got it, bros.
And then rinse repeat 16 times.
Yeah, basically. It's not badly choreographed. A lot of it is quite interesting to watch. It's just, oh man, 5 episodes is too many episodes for anything. Fortunately, after an hour and a half of fighting, Goku manages to fully power up his ultimate technique, the Spirit Bomb, and they manage to hit Frieza with it, which takes about 10 real-world minutes. But they eventually get it on him, and he has a big little like, no, this cannot be how Lord Frieza dies, kinda, you know, oh, maybe they actually got him for this time.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wow, thank goodness, man, that was a toughie. We really did it. Let's all get on the spaceship and go home and like get dinner and hang out with puppies or something, and everything's cool and totally
Go grab
fine.
that fish dinner.
Yeah, like, is it worth bringing up that before he fights Vegeta, Goku tells Gohan, hey son, we'll go fishing together when this is all over.
Oh my god, it is Chekhov's seafood dinner.
Yeah, the real prophecy. So everything's great and totally fine, and just kidding, obviously that's not true. They do let us believe that it's true for 8 real minutes. But obviously Frieza's not
God,
dead.
I thought you were gonna say episodes. Oh, thank Christ.
Frieza, they're just hanging around this puddle. The 87th thing we'll do when I get back is a board game night. Yeah, Dad, that sounds great. No, so Frieza pops out and he's really pissed and he's done messing around. He mortally wounds Piccolo, very nearly making it so this whole trip was pointless. And then he explodes Krillin. And it's very sad. This makes Goku very upset. And then this happens, and it's like, oh shit, now I remember what Vegeta was yelling about 2 hours ago. Now, this is an excellent bit of payoff, because none of the participants involved except Frieza really have any way of knowing what this is exactly. I mean, Vegeta's been yelling about something, and they can put it together. But right now, Goku just got really mad and his hair changed color. That's weird, and we've never seen it before, but like, the characters don't necessarily know what this is, but the audience knows exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Cosmonaut Variety Hour did a video about this arc where he brought up that, like, this is a Super Saiyan because what the fuck else could it be? And it's like, that's really it at this point. Like, Goku has transformed. What else could this be? So, okay, Goku's become the legendary Super Saiyan. We're like, okay, that's a Super Saiyan. Cool. So the transformation moment is a catalyst in this arc. Obviously, at this point, Goku has become a Super Saiyan. But now we get to find out exactly what that means. So the very important thing about this is that if this were just Goku but stronger, it would be just like every other power-up in this arc. And there have been a lot of power-ups in this arc. So it can't just be Goku, but he's better at hitting stuff and he's faster and he has more powerful energy attacks. Now, we've already seen that. It hasn't worked against Frieza. If this were the one that tipped it over the edge, it wouldn't be special. But the show and the manga both go out of their way to make it very clear that Super Saiyan Goku and regular Goku have very little in common with each other. And there are three key things that shift. The first of them is the mood shift, which is that in previous fights, Goku has always been a goofball, you know? He's been like fighting seriously a lot of the time, but there's usually a quip, you know, even when he's like really badly hurt, he'll usually like smile or be like, man, I can't wait to fight this guy again. Goku is on some level always having fun when he fights people, even when they're kicking his ass or the planet's in danger or he's really worried about his loved ones. There's some part of him that's always been having a good time fighting. And this has been specified in this arc as a result of his Saiyan heritage, that Saiyans like fighting. So even though Goku's like fighting for a reason, on some level, the joy of the fight itself is what motivates him. That's out the window. Goku does not seem to be having a good time after he transforms. He's really weirdly stoic and calm, and we've never seen Goku like that in a fight before because Goku's the perpetual underdog. And that ties into the second point, the tone shift, which is how the complete tone of the fight changes after he transforms. It's no longer Frieza's like all the way up here and Goku's very slowly trying to gain ground, and the minute it looks like he's narrowed the gap even a little, Frieza just zooms away. It's reversed, really. And it's not immediately obvious, but there's this like unspoken rule in fictional fights that whoever's less worried is going to win, or at least is going to win the specific exchange. So like if one person doesn't seem concerned about what the other person is doing, what the other person is doing is not going to affect them. You know, it's for drama purposes. It gives the audience information the characters don't have, which is, uh-oh, that guy seems real confident. I don't think that's gonna do anything to him. So after Goku transforms, Frieza is the one who seems tense and on edge and is constantly yelling and snarling and shaking with determination, and Goku's just standing there. For the first bit of the fight, Goku's not even attacking, he's just dodging and glaring. He doesn't even say anything. And the third important part is that we lose all access to Goku's inner monologue after this. I think we hear two of his innermost thoughts, and they are just, what's taking everyone else so long getting off this friggin' exploding planet? Which is pretty funny. But before that, in all other fights, we have a constant look at Goku's inner monologue. We know exactly what he's thinking, we know exactly what he's planning and going to try, because he's the protagonist, you know? He's the POV character during the fights. And it also tells us, like, what the stakes are of what he's gonna do. If he's gonna do a dangerous technique that might wipe him out, he's gonna have to think it to the audience, like, oh, I'll try the Kaioken times 10, but it might be more than my body can handle, and if that takes me out of the fight, that's gonna be really bad. So that when that happens, we're like, oh no, the Kaioken times 10! You know, it's important to tell the audience what he's doing. That goes out the window because it's no longer important, because there's no longer any chance that he's going to lose. The whole story has shifted around this one pivoting point. And this is cool because we don't actually know if that's a good thing. Obviously, it's good that he's gonna beat Frieza, but like, he's really not all that recognizable as Goku anymore, and especially if we've been watching through Dragon Ball or reading the manga, we've had a lot of time to get invested in Goku as a character, and the fact that he transformed into this person and suddenly he's almost completely different is actually kind of alarming for the audience. It's, you know, it's like, is this good, or is this basically a superpowered evil side that he just unlocked? And we have a lot of reason to be worried about this because Vegeta's the one who's kept talking about it, and Vegeta's not the nicest guy.
Oh no, he's gonna act like Vegeta now.
Well,
he's
honestly,
so insufferable.
Honestly, there are some similarities. Like, on some level, he's clearly still Goku, he's clearly concerned about Gohan and everyone else, and ultimately, he's entirely motivated because Krillin just died, and Krillin's his best friend, and Krillin has already been brought back by the Dragon Balls once, and as far as anyone knows, that means they can't bring him back again. So Goku just saw his best friend perma-die because he couldn't take this guy out fast enough, and that sudden burst of just pure rage is what kicked him over the edge, and now he's not really acting like Goku anymore, and part of that is he's sort of got the set of emotional responses you expect from bad guys, where he's mostly switching between being very, like, stoic and furious to being kind of smug, which is not a mood we associate with Goku. basically every time Frieza underestimates him, or Frieza says some bluster that Goku knows he can't back up, Goku will smirk, which is not the happy expression he normally wears. So like, all of the stuff we're seeing has us kind of remembering that Vegeta was talking about how the Super Saiyan is this bloodthirsty monster and like this merciless scourge of the galaxy, and completely unlike Goku's soft-hearted nature in every way. And we're like, ah, fuck, was Vegeta right? That would be a real bummer.
Yeah.
This show will still drag it out for another 5 episodes, but like, come on. Everything they're doing is telegraphing that Frieza cannot beat Goku at this point. But is he gonna still be Goku when it's over? That becomes the new stakes that they've established. Then they fight for another 5 episodes. It's, you know, it's fine. Yes, this is the infamous 5 minutes part. After Frieza figures out that Goku's just way stronger than he thought and is sort of toying with him, he gets mad and tries to blow up the planet. And instead of blowing it up all in one go, because that wouldn't be dramatic, he blows it up a little bit so that it'll really blow up in 5 minutes. And then they fight for 5 episodes. So like,
it's fine.
It's fine. Everything's cool. In terms of how this works as payoff for the established prophecy, all those things we brought up before, the vagueness, the uncertainty, they all completely serve this, because it's like they managed to pull off the, I don't know what it is, but you'll know it when you see it kind of thing. It's like, what is a Super Saiyan? Powerful warrior, scourge of the galaxy, ultimate form of the Saiyan race, blah, blah, blah. Well, is Vegeta a Super Saiyan? I mean, maybe. He seems pretty confident. And then we see this and it's like, oh, how could I have ever thought that Vegeta was a Super Saiyan when that is so clearly what a Super Saiyan is?
Yeah.
So that's good, because if Vegeta had gone Super Saiyan just by speedrun hacking, it would have been kind of a disappointing payoff. But the fact is, this sort of makes it mean something. And Goku actually somehow puts this together and explains to Frieza that as a Super Saiyan, he is a pure heart awakened by fury, which Frieza thinks is actually quite funny, because he's like, wow, no wonder Vegeta never pulled it off. It's like, oh
That's
God.
hilarious.
It's so funny.
It's also just like, in terms of like characterization, it is definitely kind of on brand that the scariest thing you can possibly see is the person who is usually extraordinarily calm or cheerful become silent with fury.
Yeah, it's a great moment, and it's awesome because at this point the audience is also really mad at Frieza, in part because of how long this fight has taken. Like, Kai is actually really good at tightening up the pacing, so the first time I watched it, I was confused that the Frieza fight felt so dragged out by comparison, and when Goku turned Super Saiyan, I was like, there's the payoff. They made us wait 11 episodes for this so that we would be just as sick of Frieza as everybody else. And then they take 5 episodes just kind of letting Goku kick him around like a football, and every time Frieza thinks he's managed to put a scratch on him, Goku's like, huh, guess I should stop messing around. He's literally doing what Frieza was doing earlier, and it's kind of delightful. But there is also this undercurrent that this might not be good, actually. Like, Gohan's pretty stoked that his dad is a Super Saiyan and will be able to beat Frieza, but like, even the narrator calls it an unsettling transformation, and a lot of people are like, is he okay? And as mentioned on an earlier slide, the first thing that Goku does after he transforms is he yells at Gohan to basically get out of there while he still has control over himself, which is like, that's never a good sign, just in general. And we don't really see Goku ever seem like he's out of control in this mode, but the fact that he's just not the guy we recognize is unsettling enough, honestly, because like, we've had a long time to get to know Goku. Even just in the run of Z, we've had a lot of time to see him and how he works and how silly he is. So this is weird and very effective. Now, the good news is that we do find out after about 5 episodes that Goku is still functionally Goku, because after he kicks Frieza around like a football for a while, it becomes pretty clear that Frieza's not going to win. And as soon as that becomes obvious, Goku stops. And he's like, all right, well, I've made my point. And he gives him a chance. But basically, he's like, all right, look, you didn't think that there was anyone in the universe who could possibly bring you down, and that's why you were such a colossal dick. So now that I've completely shattered your pride by defeating you at 100% and gotten you to the point where you're losing energy, your power level's dropping, you're basically screwed and you know it. You know I can defeat you. So that's good enough for me. So I'm just going to go before this planet explodes in 4 minutes. So he powers down. He turns back into regular Goku, which is interesting because it also almost indicates that the ultimate transformation is not the appearance on the outside, but something internal, that like, now that he can go Super Saiyan, he's sort of awakened this part of himself that's still there even when he's not glowy and gold and stuff, which is just an interesting bit of visual storytelling I thought was cool. They didn't need to make him power down in this bit, but it's more effective. Obviously, Frieza does not take this very well and goes to backstab him, which Goku's pretty pissed about, so he just transforms back into a Super Saiyan, and I don't think he even kicks his ass. I think he just flies around avoiding Frieza's death beams for a while, and then Frieza accidentally cuts himself in half because, I mean, at this point, like, the fight had to resolve somehow.
Yeah.
And Frieza's all chopped up and dying, and Goku's like, well, sucks to be you, I'm gonna go now. And Frieza begs him for help. And what's interesting is that this is specifically tying into the thing Vegeta was yelling about earlier in the arc, which is that Goku has a soft-hearted, merciful nature. And Vegeta was like, and that's why you'll never be able to be a Super Saiyan, because the Super Saiyan cannot show mercy. And it's cool that he's completely wrong about that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, okay, the Super Saiyan is Goku and Goku is the Super Saiyan. Goku is a merciful person, which means underneath all the rage and fury, he's still gonna give people second and third chances. But he clearly doesn't like it. He's like quivering with rage about this. Like, you know, how many people begged you for mercy? How can you beg me for mercy? But, you know, Frieza's chopped in half and dying on an exploding planet, and Goku's like, fine, okay, fine, and he gives him some energy. And of course, Frieza gets up and starts talking shit again, and is like, heh, I'll survive in the vacuum of space, but you'll explode. And Goku's like, nah, I'll be fine. I got a feeling about it. And then he goes to fly off, and you'll never guess what happens next. Frieza, you know, he's the worst, obviously. He's not gonna change in the last 2 minutes, and getting shown mercy by somebody who could kill him easily twice isn't exactly enough to drive the point home. We need to rule of three this. So he uses that energy Goku gave him to try and explode him, and Goku yells, "You fool," very dramatically, and fires back a blast that completely explodes him.
Nice.
I mean, so Frieza's dead. In the manga and some of the game adaptations, they managed to capture Goku's facial expression. They don't quite get it right in the anime. He looks more angry, but in the manga, it's very clear that he is full of immediate regret about having done that. That he literally couldn't pull the punch enough to not explode this, like, half-dead Frieza, and he wishes he hadn't done it. And, like, he's kind of, like, shaken and freaked out, but, you know, it's like, okay, well, it happened, okay, and then he goes to try and escape the exploding planet. After that, it doesn't really matter, you know, other stuff happens. He makes it back to Earth eventually, but they do fake him out. You can't really do a fake-out death in Dragon Ball, because it's like, oh no, not when we have a second set of Dragon Balls that can wish Goku back whatever. So the reveal ends up being, oh, Goku didn't explode, he's fine, but he doesn't want me to wish him back to Earth. He's out in space training. He'll be back on his own time. And it's like, well, alright, see you later, I guess. Anyway, so that's basically where the Super Saiyan planting and payoff really resolves, because unfortunately after this arc, Super Saiyan kind of gets downgraded to the power-up du jour. It's just the next stage of being a real strong badass that everyone, it's like the prerequisite for being an actual threat, rather than, you know, this incredibly well-planted and built-up alien prophecy about ultimate power and what the most dangerous warrior in the universe would look like. So that's basically the whole gist of what I had to cover. The planting is really solid. There's enough, like, well, what the hell's a Super Saiyan? No explanation, but just enough detail to sort of keep it in our heads. There's just enough time after that to make us almost forget that Super Saiyan was a thing on the table before it happens, and suddenly we're like, oh, Super Saiyan! Right! And then after that, it doesn't immediately resolve everything, which is another problem in prophecy narratives. A lot of times, once the prophecy comes true, that's just it for the plot. After that, it's just cleanup. And in this case, while there is cleanup, they add the additional stake of, is Goku okay? Is he still gonna be Goku when this is over? And when they finally show us that, yeah, don't worry, he's okay. It's 5 episodes later, and we've had plenty of time to stew in that. So, it's really solid emotional payoff for something that they've sort of just been sprinkling over the rest of the arc to sort of remind us of, like, hey, by the way, there's, like, greater forces at work here, and that's pretty neat. So that's my piece. What are your thoughts, shall we say?
I think this is really cool and also kind of a tragedy, because it is such a beautiful little piece of, like, subtle storytelling leading to something much bigger at the end that the whole arc turns on. And then they just run it into the dirt by wimping it out into, you know, with the next billion sagas. It's like, yes, well, you are doing this, but I am the Super Saiyan 2, and then, I am the Super Saiyan 3, and we're two. Cleo, can you stop scratching the chair, please? Thank you. And we're two Super Saiyans fused together, and then we go Super Saiyan 3, and then it's like, okay, guys, come on. But it's fascinating that it works so well in this instance for this story, and even though it kind of gets run into the dust later on, this arc, I guess these two together, really, the Saiyan arc and the Namek arc, work so well to build in the background a sense of anticipation for this thing, because the Chekhov's guns are usually relatively obvious, and then it's like, then you're just waiting for it. You're waiting for this thing to happen. It's like, okay, this is clearly gonna happen eventually. I just need to, you know, skip ahead, wait for it. But by putting it far enough in the background and wrapping it in enough mystery that it's not entirely obvious what it is or what it will accomplish, when it happens, it's a lot more satisfying because it's not just a win button, and it's not a win button that the audience was waiting for. Even if the fight is way too long, that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's an issue.
It is a surprise, yet because of how the story was constructed up to that point, the audience immediately knows what it is, and it catches them off guard, but it fits together perfectly.
Yeah.
It's really, really sharply done.
It is, and it's one of those things where the more context you have from the original run of the manga, the more impactful it is, because that planted theme of training versus talent is so central to Goku's arc, and this is almost the pinnacle of that this person who, you know, we're informed in the Saiyan Saga, like, started off as like this weak scrublord trash Saiyan, only good to drop on this backwater planet so he can turn into a giant monkey on the first full moon and wreck shop. You literally start from nothing, like this completely abandoned stranger in a strange land, who then through, you know, the love and support of his family and friends, and then just a lot of martial arts training, grows to become this ultimate warrior of legend. And it's like, was he always destined to become that way? I don't know, but he did. He worked his way up to it. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't born in this privileged position where he could have just gotten it, which is what Vegeta thought the Super Saiyan had to be. He worked and earned every single, you know, point on that scouter reading.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, if you've started from the beginning of the manga, you've watched this kid grow from just like this sort of weird, wild monkey kid to, oh, he's literally the strongest warrior in the universe, the ultimate warrior of legend, the protector of the weak, you know, bringer of justice, etc., etc. It's like if Superman had to work to be as strong as he got, and that was the whole point of his arc. It essentially makes this whole arc the ultimate culmination of everything that Goku is and has done, is that he managed to get to the point where he could defeat this being that nobody, not even the actual gods in this setting, thought could be defeated. There's really nowhere to go from there, and that's why it's such a bummer that they just kind of kept going after that, because of course by the time the Cell Saga rolls around, there's one cool thing that happens in the Android and Cell Saga, which is when Trunks shows up and immediately demonstrates how cool and weird he is by going Super Saiyan, and we're like, holy shit, what? But the problem is after that, everyone can do it, basically. Everyone just trains up to the point where they can do it. So those first two moments of serious impact become so much lesser by just where it goes after that. And it's a real bummer because this is so well built up, and I was surprised the first time I read through the manga of like, wow, Super Saiyan is really well done. I mean, I've had this concept for a detailed diatribe on the back burner since well before we had detailed diatribes established as a concept we were gonna do, because I just remember how much it affected me the first time I read it through. I was like, wow, that was really well handled and very impactful, and now I'm so mad about the Android Saga!
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that the moment of transformation is specifically predicated on the death of Krillin.
Yeah.
Because all of Vegeta's, like, you know, shouting in a field trying to power up and Goku doing the same thing doesn't make it happen, but it's that moment of the combination of grief and rage together.
Yeah.
That I don't even know what the word for that emotion is, that puts him in the space where he can become the Super Saiyan for the first time before everyone can do it, just by like squinting and tensing your muscles a little bit. Yeah. It's very cool that it's in that moment that it happens, because for Frieza's character it's interesting because he is his own undoing. Yeah. That because Frieza was such a gloat, he ended up ruining himself at several points. First by killing Krillin and making Goku go Super Saiyan, and then the 3 times he asked for mercy and then slapped Goku's hand away to try and stab him. It's cool for both of their characters that only Goku could have become the Super Saiyan because he worked so hard and he trained for all this time and he had this like innate, you know, whatever, but for someone that pure of hearts to get that furious just completely flips the switch, and then only Frieza could be that stupid to provoke Goku into doing that.
Yeah, if anything, like, Frieza ends up in that perfect position of, you know, your stock evil emperor hears prophecy of downfall and accidentally does everything on the checklist to make it happen. Yeah. Just because of who Frieza is as a person, he was never going to accept Goku's mercy. But he was going to ask for it because he, you know, he couldn't face death with dignity. He's not that kind of bad guy. It's really interesting because he really does just create the instrument of his own undoing without even realizing it. Like, he never would have run into Goku and it would have never been his problem, but because of his own hubris and just being the worst, he crafted the ultimate warrior to bring him down, which is very cool.
Yeah. It's also very cool in the sense of how the prophecy works, because the idea of like, oh, you know, one day there will come a legendary Super Saiyan, you know, who's this, and this. That's, you know, on its own, that's like, okay, whatever, but it's cool to think of the possibility, and I don't know if the show or the manga manga ever negates this by world building and showing what happens, that someone in the distant past had become a Super Saiyan, and then there were legends about this person and this warrior and what they were like that over time got kind of muddled into something legendary Super Saiyan. I don't know.
Well,
that's a cool thing to think about.
There's a non-canon movie where that happens, and it's Goku's dad time traveling. But most people don't really treat that one like it really happened.
Yeah, I'm electing to ignore that.
Yeah, as you should. And I will say one thing that's interesting about this arc is that it plants a couple things that are actually really effective that they do later. And one of those is the fact that Krillin dying is what awakens Goku to this, because of course, you know, this is Goku's oldest friend, really. I mean, aside from Bulma, and the person he spent the most time with, and now he's dead and permanently dead. And while Goku is mostly very stoic as the Super Saiyan, whenever Krillin's death is brought up, he snaps into like Hulk rage mode. And there's a little bit that I didn't really touch on in the slideshow because it's not really necessary, but Goku lets Frieza power up to 100% and doesn't take any of his chances to stop him. And King Kai is just like screaming in the back of his head like, "What are you doing? Take him out now!" And you think, oh, this is just Goku, you know, he's always like this. But Goku's doing this because of Krillin. And he's like, Krillin he was a great guy, he was sweet, he was kind, he didn't deserve this. And I'm going to completely take Frieza apart to avenge him. And it's like, it won't count if I don't defeat him when he thinks he's at his strongest. And it's like,
yeah,
that's surprisingly, like, it's vengeful and sadistic in a way that Goku has never been before. But we totally get it. We understand why he's reached this breaking point, because Krillin, as far as he knows, is never coming back.
Yeah. It's in keeping with Goku's actions where he would always want to fight someone at their strongest, but the motivation is what changes. So it's still the same character of like, oh, I want to fight this person when they're at their strongest, but instead of because that would be cool, it's because then they'll really feel it when I break them.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good exploration of the subtle ways in which the Super Saiyan shift affects Goku.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And it also kind of highlights, like, that's still Goku in there. I totally get it, because, like, Goku's a sweet kid, but he really cares about his friends, and we do believe that he would snap to this point. He doesn't become, like, fully villainous or anything, but he definitely becomes a lot more willing to make Frieza suffer than he was before, when he was just focusing on, like, if I don't take him down, everyone I care about is gonna die, so even though it would be cool to see him at 100%, we're just gonna focus on taking him down right now, okay? Cool. It's such good planting, and it's really good payoff, and man, it bums me out that it got so overused. And they have managed to sort of tap into this little nugget of really good writing since then. Part of that is when they explain how Trunks became a Super Saiyan for the first time in the future Trunks timeline. He becomes a Super Saiyan when he finds Gohan dead, and he is just so overwhelmed with grief and rage and a feeling of helplessness that it makes him go Super Saiyan for the first time, which is quite, you know, cool. It's a solid tie-in to the original. And they do this in one of the recent movies, actually, in the Super Broly movie, where they introduce Broly, who is a very powerful Saiyan with a ridiculously strong fighting ability, but he's not a Super Saiyan yet. And Frieza, who's back, by the way, it doesn't really matter, you know, again, so much of this becomes pointless retroactively, which makes me upset, but Frieza's back, and he's seeing Broly fighting, and he's like, what, why isn't he going Super Saiyan? And Broly's dad, Paragus, is like, what? The legendary Super Saiyan? What are you talking about, Lord Frieza? And he's like, wow, he really just can't go Super Saiyan. That's disappointing. I wonder how that Earthling went Super Saiyan the first time. And he remembers killing Krillin, and he's like, oh, neat. And he kills Paragus, and then he, like, clears his throat, and is like, oh, Broly, it's terrible. Your father was just killed by a stray energy bolt. It's the worst. And Broly immediately goes Super Saiyan. It's incredibly funny. It's like, wow.
Oh, no.
Frieza's got those RNG speedrunning hacks now. It's just... So there are moments that manage to kind of call back to this one perfect crystallized moment of everything that this series could be. But ultimately, the Super Saiyan got devalued by currency inflation, basically. You know, it's just, everyone can do it now, and it's no longer this incredibly cool, momentous, worrying thing that has the audience sort of like, wow, this is the coolest thing, but I don't know if it's good, actually.
Currency inflation's a good analogy. It's like, oh, if only we could just print more Super Saiyans, then...
then we'd get Frieza for sure! Yeah, so it's a really effective bit of writing, and just a really good ultimate culmination of everything that Dragon Ball had been up to that point. And then it kept going, which, you know, it's fine, but like, this is why in my personal headcanon timeline, I cut it off there. I'm like, he made it back to Earth and everything was fine. The end. Androids,
yeah.
What are you talking about? That would be ridiculous that some human on Earth could build an android stronger than a Super Saiyan. Yeah, so that's my extensive over an hour rambling about why I think Dragon Ball is cool, actually. One other point, just real quick, is that a lot of what made this so effective in the anime is that I watched it in the Kai dub, which, for those of you who are unaware, when Dragon Ball was first dubbed in, like, 96, quality was not, let's say, good, and they've released other dubs since then, but, like, this is the dub that they did when all the actors had, like, 20 to 30 years of voice acting experience under their belts, and were all really, really good at what they did, and it's so much more effective. Chris Ayres, rest in peace, did a really good job playing Frieza and making him genuinely very intimidating, and that is a huge part of what makes this so effective, because a lot of people who would watch this on, like, Toonami in 96 when it first came out would have seen kind of the silly version, where Frieza's like, "That's right, boys, I'm gonna show you my second form, but I never transform without a countdown. Is this guy for real?" So, you know, like, it's a lot more impactful when it's actually well executed. Shocker. But that's why the manga is the superior version. Anyway, yeah, so, as we all know—
Just gonna drop that spirit bomb in the chat and fly away.
Yeah, I need all of your angry comments to give me energy. Yeah, I could keep going on about this forever, but I won't. I hope you enjoyed this rant and that it was halfway coherent and the slideshow helped. We're kind of gonna slide back into the regular schedule after this, but we're taking January just a little slow. It's, you know, it's been a long year, 2 years.
It's been a long year.
It's been a while.
We had a lot of things going on outside the channel.
Yeah, so we're sort of taking it real slow to ease into 2022, and we're having a good time. We're doing good. It's just, oh boy, it was a lot.
We need to go train back up in our hyperbolic time chambers before we're ready to face the dawn.
I'm gonna need a stint in the healing chamber first, because oh boy.
Got any sensu beans handy?
Only just fewer than the plot requires us to have. Anyway, yeah.
Darn.
Yeah, shame. What were the odds? So, we will all see you in the next video. There will obviously always be more detailed diatribes. We all have a lot of opinions about the media we like. Until next time, I've been Red.
I've been Blue.
This has been an overly sarcastic production. It occurs to me we normally do the bye thing, and I completely forgot that.
Bye!